Well, my first contact with breaking the law came at the age of 9, when I started stealing out of supermarkets, stealing off my family. At the age of 12, I was taken to the Magistrates Court in Moe in Victoria and made a ward of the state and placed into handcuffs and put in a police van and driven to Toronto Youth Training Centre. That was in 1972 and that's where it all started. I've got 7 pages of criminal history. I was in and out of Victorian prisons for 20 years and addicted to the hardest drugs in Victoria for 30 years. I'm clean today.
Well, I started writing the book at my local cafe on a napkin, as you do, and I found that I wanted to write the book because I had met so many men that were coming into White Lion and talking about their stories, what they've been through, and the horrific circumstances of their childhood. They were voiceless people who needed to have a voice. They were men who had stories that needed to be told. And I felt that I could help them tell those stories in a very real and very raw, natural way. These men are incredibly inspirational. The stories they told me of how they changed their lives and turned them around will stay with me forever.
I found the cycle became very evident at about the age of 15, 16. I'd been released from Toronto Youth Training Centre, been given an opportunity, but I went home and the first thing I did was steal a car. You see, by now, prison was my home. The guys that were in there were my family because I felt that I didn't have any other family anywhere else. So the cycle just continued. It continued for 20 odd years. But in the early days, in prison we had no responsibility. We were told what to do, when to do it and how to do it. And I was just one of those many young people back in those days that got lost inside the system and became institutionalised.
These young people have had their life opportunities stripped through no fault of their own. And when I do employment training, part of it is I speak about the different types of offending, because when I was in Parkville, in winter, we would have young people coming, banging on the door wanting to come in because it was too unsafe for them to go home. So they were homeless. And they chose a custodial facility as their safe place because they knew that they would be cared for, have food and a roof over their head. So that's sad. So they would go and offend to survive. They didn't want to harm anyone in the community. They didn't want to be a nuisance. They just wanted to survive, and they didn't have any supports around them to assist them with that. Another one was a young girl. She was 10 when she was incarcerated. Her role, this is learnt offending. So her role was to have a bat. So when her and her mother did robberies in houses, if the occupants were to approach the mother, she was to beat them up with a bat to keep her mother safe. And that's why she was in custody, because that actually happened. And when I was speaking with her, she didn't have any concept of, but what do you mean? That's what I do. I was keeping mum safe.
The age of criminal responsibility in Australia is 10 years of age. The age of criminal responsibility in Russia is 14. The age of criminal responsibility in Portugal is 16. And in Peru it's 18. So we know that countries that treat a young person who's circling a criminal justice environment and is offending, that they're treated more in a welfare environment. They're treated in an environment where they say, what can we do to assist you? Where incarceration at the age of 10 is possible, it's a very easy out to say, okay, they're now a criminal, throw them into that system, and not necessarily in a welfare-based or a humanitarian approach or a rehabilitative approach to assisting them. We all know that a 10-year-old would have great difficulty making a clear decision about who and how and why they're doing things.
Another time, this young man, I'd never met him before, he comes onto the unit and just starts attacking me. So we had to separate him from me, and every shift he would try to attack me, and he'd assault me and things like that. And his key worker was saying, you know, why are you doing this to Jeff? He hasn't done anything or anything like that. He eventually got out that I looked like the pedophile who used to rape him.
Currently I'm standing in one of the many exercise yards that were here in Pentridge Prison, where I've served a lot of time. The violence, unspeakable. The pain, unspeakable. A lot of men suffered here at the hands of not only other prisoners but myself, just trying to get up every day and survive. As you walked into these yards every morning and you came down from your cell, you knew that you would have to spend the day fighting for your life, if it come to that. For your cigarettes, for your clothes, for your shoes, and sadly for some men, their virginity. As soon as I walk through these doors, I can feel the pain. The pain of the men that were here before me, and also the men that were here during my time and after me. That smell of hopelessness, of life drifting away. And as I stand here right now today, I'm scared. I'm scared of this place.
The criminal justice system, juvenile detention, breeds, and we try to provide great environments for them, and I've been to some juvenile detention centres that are incredible, and the people working there are incredible, but we can't stop the fact that putting children in those environments is so damaging at some level to them. And that more damage, the more criminality. The more sadness, the more criminal behaviour. The more lost, the more they need to find their peoples who will do criminal stuff with them. It's essential to keep them out of those systems when we can, essential. And when they're in those systems, we've got to make those systems, bloody good.
I think each and every one of us can relate to a sliding door moment where we have the choice of different pathways that we can go down. For these men, they took a pathway that was very dark, very lonely, and very disturbing. But they found their way out.
In school I was bullied. I wasn't a very happy kid. My parents and I didn't see eye to eye. About 15 or 16 I had left home. And the life I was living kind of led to using drugs. With that comes along issues with the law. I lost all faith in life for a while. I'd countlessly be arrested, held in remand, released. That went on for a lot of years. I guess I came to a stage after a lot of things happened that I didn't want to keep living that life. And, the Chatterbox offered me rehab, and they got me into a private rehab on a charity bed. Throughout being in rehab, I had to go to court, sort of deal with everything that happened. After about 6 months of being there, I left, and I kept using. And every day, the workers from White Line would be ringing me, trying to find out if I was okay. Just telling me if I wanted to go back or whatever, it's okay, I can. And in that time, I did a lot of things that I didn't want to do. You know, really, it's taken me a while since then to sort of be able to look myself in the mirror, in the eyes, and you know, I tried to check out a couple of times. I ended up in a psych ward in Geelong, and yeah, then I moved to a mental health rehabilitation centre. Through there, some white line workers worked with my parents to get them back involved in my life. You know, I left there and then I moved home. And I went back into white line and I just asked if there was anything I can do, like I wanted to do anything that I could to change, like to sort out my life and to develop some life skills. And you know, be more in touch with my community. And that's when I got involved with the Young Lions program. And I got involved with the employment program, and you know, they helped me with getting a barista's certificate. And then I started volunteering for the Really Good Coffee program. Yeah, and it really turned my life around. Like, I really felt a part of the community. Now I work for White Line, and that was you know, I guess that was always a goal. Like, from when I went into rehab, it was kind of, I wanted to do that job so I could help other kids that are in my situation. You know, help change kids' lives for the better and make it like, you know, I'm happy now, and I was never happy.
You know, and people have asked me, Steve, do you think that your life may have changed? Or maybe you would not have spent so long in prison and on drugs if you had had a white lion and a mentor? And the answer is a resounding yes.
So White Line's all about giving young people the courage to choose a better future. We're wanting to change lives, make a real difference in the lives of young people through employment, mentoring, education and outreach programs.
The average cost of a program for a young person for 12 months to be supported is around $10,000. So the cost of incarceration is considerably higher, and what we get out of incarceration is reincarceration.
Unfortunately, most of society really thinks it's still about punishing people, and if we punish them hard enough, that will solve our problems. Well, that's not going to solve our problems. That's just going to deliver us more recidivism and a very expensive bill. Like the state of Texas has recently found out that they're doing the opposite. They're trying to divert people out of jail, trying to support them to stay out of jail, because they've worked out that it's cost them, it's costing them billions each year to continue on this idea of just punishing people. And if you punish them hard enough, that'll fix the problem. Well, it doesn't.
I think the book is a very easy read. It's a pleasure to read it, but it's sad to read the content. And the reason it's so sad is because it happens from the very day that the child's often born, that they've had parents that have had mental illness or alcohol problems. And the sad thing is they're not going to go away. So it highlighted to me more about the importance of what we do to help these victims, because I see the offender as a victim too from their childhood, and how we help them to grow and understand that they're better than that. And so many in that book were, and how they came out of the life that they had and made such a good one today is a credit to them.
I look at books from an editorial point of view. I love the fact that we've got, for each of the men's stories, we've got the input from a professional commenting and structurally giving you, the reader, the logical aspects from a sociological point of view of why they've behaved in a certain way, and how hard it was for the man himself to go through what he's done and come out the other side.
I think it's fabulous, so I'm delighted to be able to help Rachel personally, but what she's heading up and what she's about to do with Doin Time, I think it's great.
Well, I hope this book starts a conversation in the media, in the government, in homes and in schools. A conversation that leads to more compassion and less judgment.
So the reason that I wanted to be involved in this book was to leave a message for people, to never give up. I've broken intergenerational imprisonment in my family, and I've managed to be able to stop that, which is absolutely huge. So today, I'm very blessed to be alive. I'm very grateful and very humbled for everything in my life at the moment. And I just want to spend every day of the rest of my life helping people to make positive changes in their life and to never ever give up.
We need to hear and listen and see, because these are our children, our beautiful, sad, sad souls, and it's our job, our very important job. It's our greatest honour to help these children. And we need more than their stories. We need their pictures, their stories, their voices, their hopes, everything. We need it out, and we need people to read it.